So it's my privilege to welcome everyone to this session that will be dealing with food system pathways, perspectives from regional dialogue, and this is the West Africa session. This session is being recorded, and it's important for us to have a record of what we've been discussing, since this will be going forward to the UN Summit. For those who would like to ask questions, we encourage you strongly to use the Q&A function for any question and comment that you might have. And we will make sure that we get this into the attention of the people whom you direct your questions to. You could also use the option of raising your hand. As much as possible, all care has been taken to prevent interferences, but if there is anything that comes that is not under control, we assure you, please do not panic. We'll put things back to order very quickly. Now, our session deals with food perspective, the pathways from the regional dialogue from our region. Ideally, we would have had the Commissioner of Agriculture from ECOWAS to make an introductory statement. I've spoken with his assistant, he is not available. You probably have heard that we have a crisis in the region that has to do with Guinea. And there was an emergency meeting of the head of states yesterday. And today he's on his way traveling from Mali to Niger. It has to do with food reserve that is going to be donating to the government of Niger after having done the same with Mali yesterday. Having said that, my organization, CORAF, is an association of agricultural research institutions from 23 countries in West and Central Africa, and we serve as technical arms for ECOWAS and for the equivalent in Central Africa, which is the Economic Commission of Central African States. Based on this, I feel I have some insight that I could share, which I believe Commissioner Sangare would have stressed had he been given, had he been able to join us. And it has to do with what impact at scale has to do with the region, why it is important for us. We do not just want impact at scale, we want it to be inclusive so that it leads to transformation that leaves no one behind. I believe everybody has heard that and is in agreement fully. But in the region, we feel that the ultimate purpose of our action is for betterment of livelihoods, and it is therefore about lives, not just statistics, it's about people. So what we would like to see is that we have an agriculture that is transformative and that will be including all sectors of the population. It has to do with inclusion, equity, fairness, diversity, and proximity. And that means that anything that we do should be happening at the level of the communities. Commissioner Sangare always emphasizes that our communities are local agents of change, the change that they need, the change that they depend on. Therefore, whatever technology that we bring, as much as we want them to be disruptive, they should be brought in a very non-disruptive approach at the community level. A second message that Commissioner Sangare would have liked to share is that innovation is at the heart of transformation, but it has to be looked at as a supply chain of network with several contributors. We have the hardwares constituted by technologies and processes, but we have the software that we should not neglect, and those are the people and the context in which we act. And finally, the connectivity is important. Partnerships and mentorship are key. And of course, without efficient services for facilitation and financing, for example, nothing can happen. And the last point that Commissioner Sangare would have probably stressed is that while innovation in technologies, products, and services are essential, insufficient attention has been given to the process of how to engage the poor and how to build business models that are able to satisfy the needs of the poor while being financially sustainable. That's extremely important. And lastly, we have to recognize that we have a problem, I mean, not a problem, it's an opportunity. We have an innovation ecosystem that is very complex and that requires very sound governance. And in our region, we have a coalition of donors and coalition of doers that are operating under the leadership of ECOWAS. And we have ownership from the countries. Partnership means more together and less alone, so that we can all be proud of what we achieve at the end of the day. So that would have been the message that Commissioner Sangare would have probably shared. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call on our first representative from the countries. I would like to introduce Madame Cisse, Madame Alimata Cisse Sila. She is from Burkina Faso. She holds a master's degree in project management and a master's and bachelor's degree in agricultural and environmental economics. She's been currently holding the position of research and planning officer at the General Secretariat of the Ministry of Agriculture, Agricultural Development and Mechanization of Burkina Faso. She's a member of the support team that has been in charge of coordinating the national consultations on food systems, and therefore she's one of the best placed people to tell us what Burkina Faso has been thinking of as we move forward. And I'm going to ask her to make a presentation in not more than 5 minutes that will be addressing the following questions. And these are the questions that are addressed to every presenter. Why is food systems transformation required in your country? What kinds of transformation are necessary? And how is transformation being taken forward? What are the key features? Incidentally, I'm also from Burkina Faso. So, soyez la bienvenue, madame. À vous la parole.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Modérateur. Bonjour.
Thank you very much, Moderator. Thank you, and good afternoon to each and every one of you. I will be presenting on Burkina Faso with regard to the preparations that we have undertaken, looking forward to the summit of 2021 for the United Nations for Food Systems. I will be answering the questions that were posed to me. Why food system transformation, the types of transformation, and how these transformations will be implemented. Those are the key aspects. I would just want to point out that we need to know that it's because the problem of food sharing is affecting the entire world, particularly with 7.8 million people who are 820 persons who are touched by hunger. And so we are 1 child out of 5 suffering from retardedness. And we have a lot of challenges with food, which are worsened by the current vulnerabilities, which is the COVID-19 problem that is hitting West Africa. So we risk getting into a food crisis. That is what the Secretary General pointed out in the UN meeting on food systems. Then what is the need for transforming the food system? We need to say that the food systems in African countries, particularly in Burkina Faso, is showing a lot of potentials. We can look at the amount of arable land. We have about 5,000 hectares of land that can be used under irrigation and others. We also have legal texts and laws for exploitation of agriculture. In spite of these great potentials, the fact is that the health food systems rather, do not ensure or guarantee food security for the populations. This is because of a number of obstacles, among them we need to say that for Burkina Faso, every year we have regions that have structural shortcomings. We also have unequal food distribution and systems. We also have food products that are not properly distributed. So the food processing systems are equally not adequate. Then we also have issues of lack of electricity and energy for processing raw materials. Worsening that, we also have conflicts, attacks, which is leading to several displaced persons. We also have the COVID-19 crisis and climatic changes. So for all these multiple factors, we end up with malnutrition and hunger. For Burkina Faso, we have several people who are really under hunger, and we have 24% who are undergoing food shortages. With regard to transformation, we have 5 key pillars. That is to work in intensifying the agro pillar. We know that diversified production quality, which is sustainable, is important through putting in place a number of strategic actions, such as increasing the budget allocated to production, agricultural production and pastoral activities. We also need to conform to Malabo agreements where a specific amount of the budgets need to be assigned to agriculture. We also need to work to transform or process 35% of the brute or the products so that they can be used. Then we also need to transform infrastructure, labeling, certification of food products. Then we also need to promote good food feeding habits and prioritize local production. We also need to ensure coherent transformation between local and externally acquired products. And we also need to better infrastructure from the land or from the farms to the market so that all the actors in the food industry can be facilitated. In Burkina Faso, we have undertaken a number of engagements, particularly through the official declaration of the country. We need to constitutionalize the right to food in our constitution so that we can have presidential initiatives put in place. That is, for example, the number of tons of rice produced, and then ensure that every child is guaranteed of a balanced meal every day. Then we also have reduction of greenhouse gases so that we work and move it to 25%. We also have agroecological policies so that through the products that we have, authorities can work towards presenting that at the summit. Then we also have to increase the amount of the acreage of land that is under irrigation to ensure food for all. We also have increasing the budget allocated to food so that 3% of the national budget can be allocated to nutrition. And then we also have intensified research for food products. I also come back to allocation of the budget for investment in the agro-pastoral activities. We also propose the use of biotechnologies that are modern, which have proven to be capable of enabling us increase production, whether it is agro-pastoral or through just the biotechnologies that are modern. We also have to increase humanitarian assistance, taking account of the situation that we find ourselves in due to COVID-19. So we need to increase the space for humanitarian intervention. We insist again on processing and insisting on the sanitary quality, the nutritional quality of the products. So this, we have noted that we don't adhere to health rules and sanitation rules are set out. Then we also need to move from the stockage to selling. We also need to, we have the identification of the national roadmap for the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. And then we also have the preparatory work for the country to participate in the summit, the policy and strategic directions that will translate commitments made into action. So for that, we also need all the stakeholders to be fully committed continuously. Thank you very much for your kind attention. We thank you again, Madam, for your very beautiful presentation. We will not drag you into much more.
Put them in the chat box or in the Q&A section. It's now my privilege. I'm not sure if Mrs. Olushola Idowu is here. She hasn't joined. Oh, welcome, Your Excellency, Honorable Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Finance and Planning. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce her. Mrs. Olushola Idowu is the Permanent Secretary, Budget and National Planning. She served as Director of the Federal Civil Service in 2014 and was appointed Permanent Secretary in 2019. She was deployed to the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning as Permanent Secretary, Budget and National Planning in February 2020. She comes to us to give us an account of the Nigerian perspective on the food systems as we go forward for the United Nations Food Summit. And she would be also addressing the key question that I've asked the predecessor, which are, why is food systems transformation required in your country, Nigeria, which is a very beautiful country I know very well? What kinds of transformation are necessary? How is transformation being taken forward? What are the key features? So, Honorable Permanent Secretary, the floor is yours. You have about 5 minutes, and then we'll be asking questions at the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good day all. Let me align with the existing protocol that has been established, please. Let me say that it's my pleasure to be part of the African Green Revolution Forum 2021 Summit, as we are all preparing for the United Nations Food Systems Summit in New York in a couple of weeks. I'm building my presentation on our collective effort to find solutions to our food system to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and the decade of action. Permit me to align my presentation with the 3 key pillars of AGRF, which includes inspiration, partnership, and fellowship, while supporting it with another pillar, which is the South-South and Triangular Cooperation of Experience, Sharing and Capacity Building across food system transformative pathway. I wish to state that the perspective of Nigerian food system pathway informed the various exploratory regional dialogues conducted in Nigeria from April 2021 to June 2021. The exploratory dialogues were conducted to identify issues and harness relevant recommendations that will provide pathway for sustainable food system in Nigeria ahead of the Global Summit on Food Systems slated for September 2021. In Nigeria, the following methodologies were employed for a robust dialogue that cuts across all the 6 geopolitical regions of the country. All the relevant actors in agri, nutrition, and food system to support plan for a robust dialogue that will provide pathway to sustainable food system in Nigeria were organized and brought together as a core team. The core team was made up of 12 ministries, departments, and extra-ministerial agencies in the food and nutrition section. International and local non-organizations were also part of it. It also includes organized private sector, academia, women, youth group, as well as high-level policy makers. The team collaboratively worked together to convey the first insertion dialogue and then the exploratory dialogue across the country. In all, we had 40 food system summit dialogues, which included the 25 dialogues conveyed by the federal government and 14 were conveyed by independent conveners. The key issues identified across all our dialogues are these. All farmers in Nigeria are vulnerable to shocks, stress, and disruptions due to several threats such as climate change, drought, flooding, erosion, insecurity, displacement of population group, inflation, the COVID-19 pandemic, and internal migration. The COVID-19 pandemic has amplified the fragility, inequalities, and suboptimal functionality of our food system. There are huge post-harvest losses within the food system, which account for losses of more than half of what we produce, with significant impact on the environment and economy. Inequality and power imbalances at the household, community, national and global levels are consistently constraining the ability of our food system to ensure remedial and sustainable, equitable livelihood. The reports of all the exploratory dialogues were therefore synthesized into medium and long-term implementation plan for further examination by the policymakers, led by the Vice President of the country at a consolidatory dialogue on the 29th June 2021. The consolidatory dialogue carefully examined all the critical issues identified at the various dialogues, made inputs and then suggestions to improve the reports of the various dialogues that has been synthesized into the 3 and 10 years implementation plan. We also agreed on promising pathways that will serve as game changers expected to change the narrative in the food system in Nigeria. In developing a pathway for Nigerian food system, we are aligning our food system actions with other Nigerian roadmaps and global solution clusters. The pathway is geared towards improving development outcomes, which include the draft National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, the agricultural policy, the National Policy on Food and Nutrition, the National Health Policy, National Policy on Food Safety, among other frameworks. Solution clusters of global food system game changers that particularly align with the identified pathway for Nigeria include clusters around the action areas of promoting food security and reducing hunger, cross-cutting actions, enabling, inspiring, and motivating people to enjoy healthy and sustainable options, manage sustainably existing food production system, rebalancing agency within the food system, and localizing food system and food system resilience. Other aligned solutions clusters that are not situated within this priority action include fortifying stable food and crops. Our expected impact of the food system transformation is that all Nigerians have equitable livelihood as well as resilience to vulnerabilities, shocks, and stresses, and consume sustainable and adequate qualities of food, nutritious food produced using sustainable and nature's positive approaches. We have some impact indicators, and they actually include percentage reduction in employment, percentage reduction in poverty, reduction in food imports, stunting prevalence, percentage reduction in micronutrient deficiencies prevalence among women and children, percentage reduction in underweight prevalence, reduction in overweight, obesity, and prevalence, reduction in communicable diseases, performance of children in school and disadvantaged areas in external examinations, percentage increase in agricultural value added per worker. And our key progress milestone will include significant improvements in crop yields, reduction in national cost of healthy diets, and reduction in poverty headcount ratio. The Nigerian National Pathway has been clustered into the following with reference to action tracks for the UN food system. We have 6 clusters, and that's what we'll be submitting to the UN food system group. The first one is investing in food security and nutrition knowledge dissemination, skill development and information management system to enhance agricultural productivity. And that we've taken into account the action tracks 1, 2, 3, and 5. The second cluster is building sustainable, responsive, and inclusive food system, which include the actions 1, 3, 4, and 5. The third is value chain and market system development for improved productivity, improved livelihoods, and poverty reduction. And we have taken into cognizance action tracks 1, 4, and 5. Number 4 cluster is increased demand for and consumption of adequate, nutritious, and healthy foods, including in humanitarian context. And that we have taken into consideration action tracks 1, 2, 4, and 5. Then the 5th cluster is promotion of peace building initiative, food marketing and regulation standard, and an enabling environment for food system activities. Action 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Then the last but not the least is our cluster 6, linking research, innovation, and extension of the sustainable food system. And that is also looking at all the action tracks. In conclusion, I would recommend that the need for community to increase, donor community to increase support and intervention to food system, while country level intervention should focus on tax waivers, subsidies for healthy food, given that the poor are those who cannot afford healthy diets. The country should also promote access to funds by youth and women farmers to increase productivity and also build household food and nutrition security. Also to increase access to credit and soft loans for all actors along food value chain. Creation of pool of funds directly targeting smallholders farm, and for the purpose of increasing production. So that, like I said, is what we'll be submitting very soon to the UN food system. I want to say a big thank you for this invitation, and thank you for your attention. God bless you.
Kushe, thank you so much, the Honorable Permanent Secretary. We're now going to have the privilege of listening to one key stakeholder who will be reflecting on what she's just heard. And that's Mrs. Onyaole Patience Poku from Replenish Farm. She is the Chief Executive Officer, and she's a member of the Global Farmer Network and CEO of that farm that I just mentioned. She is the recipient of the 2019 Kleckner Award from the Global Farmer Network and 2018 Cornell Alliance for Science Farmer of the Year. She also serves on the Cornell Alliance for Sciences Advisory Board. In a short time as a member of the Global Farmers Network, she has already advocated on major stages, including at the 2019 GES Summit, a side event of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations Committee of the World Food Security in Rome, Italy, and at the Future of Farming Dialogue in Monheim in Germany. The floor is yours, Madam. If you would please turn on your video and then try and make your statement in not more than 5 minutes so that we can allow the floor to interact with you. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be here today and to speak with us. Unfortunately, I'm having some network challenges, so I would probably switch off my video at some point just to be sure that I'm able to be heard. COVID-19 shook our world tremendously, and we can see that the food system all over the world was greatly affected, more so in Africa and West Africa, more specifically, because it's both for production and consumption. The challenge, however, I put them under one umbrella, and that is access. We know what ails us in Africa, but have we the will to fix it? Do we have the will to fix our numerous problems that we highlight so clearly? AGRAF and UNFSS, both being held in September, are pivotal to the repositioning of our food systems. As Africa catches up, the world will advance closer to meeting its goals. But Africa must catch up, and more so West Africa must catch up. Access, when I speak about access, we are talking about access to tools, all the tools in the box. So if we must do things differently, we must embrace every option as a possible tool that will advance us. So are we talking about access to science, innovation, technology, information, training? Can Africa embrace no-till technology continent-wide? Can we use scientifically improved seeds? From Burkina Faso, we heard of the use of biotech. Can we use those to African farmers can use to improve our production? Can we provide training and access to markets? Knowledge is power. Can we leverage on knowledge and partner and form alliances with partners who have developed their agricultural systems? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Can we take what has existed? So when we speak about outside triangular partnerships, we talk to APRISEED, for instance, the No-Till Farmers Association in Argentina. Can we transfer knowledge? Can we talk to people who are actually boots on the ground, practitioners of agriculture, to come up with policy that will enhance our agriculture? In order to bring meaningful change to our food systems, there is no one-size-fits-all approach. Let Africans tailor their solutions to solve their specific problems. Let us grow from 1 to 2 tons per hectare to 7 to 10 tons per hectare. Visible progress. Let us form the right partnerships and alliances. Let us be true to our press. To thine own self be true. As a farmer in Africa who has struggled over the years to develop our production and to improve our yields, I can tell you firsthand that to feed the world, Africa needs to feed herself. Now, if we are not able to grow production to the point where we can feed us that is generated by effective production systems all over the world, can we look inwards as we come to the UNFSS and AGRAF coming out of this to truly come with meaningful solutions and not long speeches and data that will not bring transformation? Can we change our thinking? Can we go back and look at what really works? Because we are lagging behind. And like the UN has said, leave no one behind. And so if we truly don't want to be left behind, we must change everything and the way that we do it. Thank you very much.
Well, that was a passionate plea for action, not just statements. And this is a good time, it seems to me. If there are questions from the floor, I would be willing to take a couple of them. We have about 10 minutes left in this session. And please do raise your hand or and mute yourself and make your statement, your question, and indicate whom you're directing it to. Well, it doesn't seem that the floor is reacting, so I'm going to use the privilege of the moderation to ask the Honorable Mrs. Olushola Idowu to react to what she's just heard from our stakeholder who's calling for action, not just a statement. We have good plans, she says, but we need to put them into action. And she's used the word will. Is there the will? Could you react to that and then as the same?
It's not a matter of reacting to it. It's a matter of saying that we have also decided to put action to whatever we are doing. We have looked at our food system in the country and we have dialogue. And the dialogue was across the nation, not just some few individuals. So what we are doing, sorry, I have to start my video. So what we are doing is to ensure that going forward, it will be action and not talking. That's one thing I've also been saying. And if you remember my word during the pre-summit, I said whatever discussion we have been having now, let's see it as seed that we are planting, ready to germinate. And what do we need to make them germinate? Our actions. For example, in Nigeria, we are focusing more on the youth and the women. We want a case wherein we have a challenge which we accept, and that's the challenge of insecurity. And because of that, people are not even able to go to farm. But one thing that is staring us in the face is the fact that food prices keep moving up and up and up, out of the reach of the poor. So if something is not done, then there will be a problem. There'll be a chaos. So what we are trying to do is to ensure that in those states where we have relative peace, what can we do to encourage the youth and the women to start something? And that is our first action. Thank you. You are muted, oh. You are muted.
Thank you, madame. Thank you. Madame Cissé, vous avez entendu la représentante de la société civile.
You have listened to the representative of the society who said that it is necessary to move from speeches and go to concrete actions. How would you like to react to this?
Madame Cissé, est-ce que vous m'avez entendu? Vous devez activer votre...
Madame Cissé, did you hear me? Yes. Thank you very much for this question. Yes, I got it. We need to move to action, and it is true. We need to say that the action that we are talking about,
les éminents chercheurs, voilà, le monde scientifique
brought together a number of actors. So moving from researchers, the scientists, we talked of experts from different domains or groups, and also we given the support of the United Nations systems, and then we had ACRAF also with us. There was civil society, also there was a sector that deals with agro. We also, at the national level, we had a meeting, and we looked at a number of laws that are linked to the food system. So that we'll be able to interrogate what is working, what is not really working, so that we move to action. And yes, that went go on for a while, and it will still. The second part was to touch on the dynamics of ensure production. There were at least 10 or 12 stakeholders that worked that, and the third was detailed looking at the engagement of the different parties, including the public, the civil society, and the fourth one was to consolidate the national effort. So I believe we still agree that we have moved from the part of discussions and talks to action. Yes, this action count. Yes, there are for certain points that need to be really highlighted, especially at the production level. We need to invest more in production so that we can make sure that even the small holders are also involved, and also exploit all that we have in the best way possible. So it's also to say that the commitments that we have, yes, are leading us to action. It's not simply a means of getting us to the summit speeches. Is what is leading us to action. Most of the commitments we have the project profile, we have, whether they be technical or financial, they have been implemented, and all those will allow us to achieve the results we are looking at. But we also need to remind ourselves that we also need not only the accompaniment or the partnership of the traditional partners, but also others who will help us to promote the food system as it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. About 4 minutes left, so I'm going to try and wrap up with a few general comments. I think the call to action is called for. The cost of inaction is just too high. I'm going to quote from the briefing notes that we spent about we lose about 370 billion US dollars since 2014, which comes to about 52 billion per year, just to climate and pests and diseases, and that is just too high. If we are able to control that, I think we'll be saving a lot of money that can be invested in the sustainable intensification that is being said, the diversification that is being mentioned as a way of increasing production. You have to add to this 52 billion an annual import bill of about 85 billion, which means that it's not money the issue. When we are importing with so much money, can't we just redirect part of that money to our domestic needs to increase our ability to satisfy our needs? In my opinion, that is possible if we have a plan for gradual substitution to import by focusing on what we do best. We have the technologies. I believe they are available for the intensification to take place. It's a matter of scaling, and what we need there is a better organization to link up those who generate the technologies to those who can use them to make things happen at the level we want them to happen. Finally, I think I very much like what Burkina Faso is proposing, is that the right to food that is healthy and diversified be written into the Constitution. We have to be accountable and make sure that any way we fail to meet that constitutional right, if it is accepted, can help our, the population can hold our leaders, including ourselves, to account. And I believe food is too important for us to outsource it. This would be the word of conclusion I would like to leave with everyone. And I thank you so much. I thank the organizer of the AGRF for allowing me to be the moderator of this session. I thank all the presenters for the quality and the pertinence of their presentation. And I thank the participants for their patience. Thank you so much. And I wish everyone a successful rest of the day. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Merci à tous. Au revoir.
Thank you all. Goodbye.
I think our session is now ended.
Winnie, you may close the session now.